What's good, y'all? Hope all is well. You know, keep your eyes open out here at all times. Never make sure your enemy knows what you got going on. You don't want to tell nobody what's your biggest movies because they're going to try to be like you. Ain't nobody like you in this world at all. And as I remind you of this, that's why it is important for you to shine your light. We are children of the Most High, y'all, children of the Sun. So when the sun shines, y'all, the motherfuckers that can't take the sun, they're against us because we're the ones that fully embrace the energy. So with that energy, family, it's giving you awareness and it's charging your body, right? Now, while these motherfuckers can't take, anything that's organic, when you step out, y'all, you're a sun and physical representation. So where the sun can't go, that's why you are here, to put light in those areas. Say you live somewhere where it's dark, the sun may not shine there. Say it's a cold place. Or you have a sun within you, and that sun is meant to be worked on so you can light them motherfucking areas up that need light. You will be, up against the most vicious motherfuckers possible, y'all. You will be around people who are hexing you, trying to put curses on you, trying to rock your world. But that's why the Most High is with you. You don't need nobody else, y'all. You're a one-man band, y'all. And, just be telling y'all this shit, y'all, because I live in this shit day by day, every day, with no fear. I live with confidence, and I live knowing that I got the shadows, that 10 shadow technique, y'all, that Megami was supposed to, master. That's what you have. It's something you can't see, but it's there because you feel protected. Motherfuckers can't just walk up on you and do what they want to, because they're gonna get checked by that power that they feel, but they can't see it. You know why? Because that's where your power resides, y'all. Your power resides in the things nobody can see, y'all. And that's why you're always one step above them. Everybody in this world, y'all, ain't necessarily your enemy. Say you have family members or just friends or lovers that you once, felt for. It's not necessarily that they're the enemy, y'all. You found your calling, purpose, and separated you from them because they ain't on the things that you're with, y'all. They're not trying to build up this planet for the bettering of, the environment, y'all. These motherfuckers stay polluting and they love living in that toxicity, y'all. So they gonna go back to where they came from when judgment occurs. But you don't have to do nothing, y'all. You just gotta step outside and shine that light because they don't like you just for the fact that you can't be stopped, y'all. You got people trying to study you out here, but you gotta remember, everything's for a reason, y'all. You are doing something. You are disrupting the mind of everybody who's not seeing what really should be, So if you're going against, people, or you feel like life is tough, it's going to be a whole lot tougher for you because what you came down here to do, what you came down here to, change, y'all. You have authority, y'all. Your power is in your facial structure as well because they can't look at you for too long, yo. That light, it blinds them. Why does that light blind their asses? Because they ain't got no light in them. They can't take your light, y'all, because it burns them, And if you don't get this information, y'all, it's gonna pass you by because this information is high energy. Not everybody's meant to grasp this. You gotta truly be a high vibrational being to wanna watch these videos, y'all. People want to talk about how we're rising to 4 and a 5D, right? Well, that may be true, but you'll always rise higher in dimensions within you first because that's where it starts, y'all. If you work on from within, so without. But let me get on this title as, who we once were, y'all. Your power is in the shit you can control with your mind, right? That's why, back then, y'all were able to move things with your fucking mind. It don't seem real now because you're not on those energy planes of existence anymore, y'all. You don't even have your seed within you. You ain't even cultivating your sexual energy. So what makes you think you can control anything? You can't. You're a consumer. You've been consuming shit your whole life, thinking that you're nothing. And that's why you are nothing, family, because you gotta make a change, you know? We are the children of the Most High, y'all. And that's why every single day, we are changed, y'all. You are changing the world through vibrations, you know? So that's a strong hitter right there, y'all. We're some heavy hitters because you don't need nothing. You know, you're not craving nothing physical, y'all. All these motherfucking beings, they live materialistic. You know, they gonna choose money over their dead ones because they have no morals, man, you know? That should make you feel some type of way about them, because if you're gonna value paper over your own family, but that says a lot about your character, you know? But it's all good, y'all. You know, you don't have to worry, you know? You just gotta be vivid and you gotta be open to receive, y'all. You know, family? You gotta stay within as much as possible out here. And you gotta rock your fucking protection, y'all. If you ain't wearing no copper, no gold, or no crystals, man, you better have a high-ass field of supreme consciousness around you, because you will be attacked by these entities. And when I say these entities, y'all, since this world is physical but also spiritual, the shit you can't see is what's, you know, taking on. So for the people that are always stopping you, blocking you, getting in your way, trying to manipulate you or trying to hold you back, archons are possessing them from the spiritual realms to get you to feel some type of way to where you lose your energy. Not in a way to where you give it up, but to where you trip, or, you know, you react, yo. The enemy wants you to react because then they can harvest your ass like a crop, you know. But when you don't react, that's when the game changes, family, because now there's nothing they could do, you know. They cease to exist anyway without your presence, y'all. I always remind y'all of that. If they're not real in your reality, well, they're not real at all, because what you see and what you believe in, you give power to, family. And your power is what's the radiant thing in this beacon of fucking world, because this world runs off of light, y'all. We've been living in darkness too long, and since I'm out here chilling with Raw, y'all, this energy that I'm extracting, you know, that's hitting my vessel, this is the energy that you need to use to tap in to yourself, because it's gonna really show you what the fuck you're living in, you know. I'm talking to the chosen ones, y'all. Y'all are a part of my soul tribe, because you see the world for what it is, y'all. You know, you look at everything like, why is it the way it is? Because, y'all, everybody has failed, you know. And when I say fail, they truly fail for everything around them. The deceit, you know. They fell into sin, you know. Sin is the shit that they talk about in the Bible when you commit a crime or you do something against nature or going against, you know, what is right? But you know this world ain't right because of how it's ran. So you can technically say there's nothing but sinners in this motherfucker, right? And that's why, you know, the sun, it will always shine, because it's trying to cleanse the shit that's not supposed to be here. Why you think clouds block the skies, y'all? Because these beings that control everything don't want organicness to flow. You know, they want everything to be artificial. You know, that's okay. Everybody has a belief in something, but that doesn't mean it will happen, you know? Especially knowing that everybody's waking up daily, y'all, because the energy that's hitting the world, y'all. People ain't waking up because of the shit they seen on the internet, y'all. They are waking up because the energy that they are breathing in, you know, and the shit that they are, you know, getting mentally, y'all. A download. You are getting downloads whether you want to or not, depending on how much energy you have within your body, you know. So protect your vessel, man, because if you want to live a good long life, family, you gotta be healthy. And if you ain't healthy, you gonna decay, you know, and you're not gonna make it, you know. But that's all they can do, y'all, is try to hold you back or try to keep you away from your purpose, man. Your purpose is to speak truth and to stand alone. You know, people envy the fact that you don't need nobody, y'all. Not needing nobody is your biggest asset. You don't gotta rely on no motherfucker, man. You know, if they slow or if they, ain't so quick to take applaud, that's why you here, man. I don't miss a day, y'all, because I know how much I'm worth. The energy in me is omnipotent, y'all, because energy is what you truly need to thrive on. If nobody has energy, nobody can fully experience this life, So, fuck anything that's a possession, and that's why your ass is possessed, because you're still worrying about possessions, man. Possessions are only aiding your ego, man. But when the ego is crushed, y'all, what is there left? An empty shell that's seeking rest or is wanting to die and shit, because you haven't felt what it truly feels like to live, man. Knowing that you don't need shit to live, y'all. All you need is the wall, or all you need is nothingness, y'all. Because when you sit in nothingness, that's when peace arrives, because ain't shit you ain't gotta worry about, And when you get to this level, y'all, you will realize that's why you came down here to do what you are supposed to do, which was stand and be, just exist, y'all. Your presence overrides shit that causes tantrums or anything that feels like it ain't wholesome, And why you think everybody be glitching? Because that energy shakes their boots, That shakes them. That's your power, chosen one. Be happy that God gave you that one, because not everybody has this ability. They want it, but you can want everything and you will still have nothing, because you're not a child of the Most High. You're going against what He has put for you, So, before I end this video, I just want to remind y'all, man, know your power's within you, right? And that's why they keep you entertained, or they want you to be focused on bullshit outside of you, because your power resides in the internal world, Just like there's a meta world on this social media. The social media world ain't real, but it becomes real once you believe in it, once you give it all your power. Instead of putting all your fucking faith into this phone, put that power into your soul, into your spirit. And when that spirit becomes light, you will see how many people in this world actually are against you. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because you call them out. Because that light, it checks everything that ain't lighting up as well, That's why you are a problem, man. That's why you are a force to be reckoned with. And that's why they always watching your videos, never liking them, or they just fucking stalkers, man, trying to figure out what is he saying. But you can't get what I'm saying, y'all. The people who comment, why are you saying? What are you trying to get at? This is a different point of view. This is an internal point of view, y'all. You have been living outside of yourself for all your whole damn life. So of course you ain't gonna get this, It takes your spirit to be right to understand what the fuck's going on around here, family? And once you turn your spirit up, you ain't gonna wanna go back, man. If you living at your lowest right now, I promise you, if you get out that fucking hole you dug yourself in, you will thank me, man, that you're no longer that being, because you was weak. You was at a weak state, y'all. You don't want to feel weak, y'all. You want to have power, right? Everybody wants power. Everybody wants to feel like they're respected. Everybody wants to look good. But not everybody wants to take care of themselves. Not everybody wants to focus on, what the fuck's truly going on around here. That you are being harnessed of your power, y'all. But I'll see y'all tomorrow, man. All is well. Keep your head right. And, all you gotta do is wear your protection out here, man.